we now are starting to look into a historical perspective on the September 11th attack, and kids are starting to learn about it a lot differently. We're going to be taking phone calls on that, how you think we need to preserve it, how we need to be talking about it still.
For the first decade or so after 9/11, when the words remember, never forget, all of these slogans and phrases were used around the media during the coverage of it, it almost felt like, well, that's absurd. Of course we never could. I remember the exact place I was in a classroom when my teacher had to go lock the door because there was a call over the intercom that meant there's a code, there's an issue, you need to lock the door and call the office. I remember all that vividly.
Yeah.
But what you're even
And you were
bringing
even
up,
a kid still.
so it seemed like that's crazy. Of course, we will never forget the how terrible and severe and life-changing that day was. But then it's so quickly when even the people that are writing for the media, the new generation of the workforce is removed from that, it does start to quickly change.
We are getting to that point where time is shifting, and we have to be careful as we're heading into essentially a whole new group of adults that we're not there. And this is not just a small part of history. So this is from President Trump just this morning.
Our sacred task, our righteous duty, and our solemn pledge is to carry forward the noble legacy of the brave souls who gave their lives for us 19 years ago. In their memory, we resolve to stand united as one American nation, to defend our freedoms, to uphold our values, to love our neighbors, to cherish our country, to care for our communities, to honor our heroes, and to never, ever forget.
I think that Pearl Harbor, we mentioned that earlier in the show, is a very good example of something similar that happened, an attack by Imperial Japan that took us into World War II. And that was, Roosevelt called it the day that will live in infamy forever. Yeah. Now
that kind of rolls off your tongue at this point.
And I think that's how we should look at this if we want to treat it with the respect it needs and with the remembrance that it needs. How do we, as people who were not alive during the Pearl Harbor attack, how do we view that through history and almost use that as a check on ourselves that we need to be very well versed in our history?
My brother was in Washington, D.C. during the attack. So I also dealt with that we were disconnected from my brother. He was in college, also working at the Justice Department, and trying to get in touch with him, and the phone lines were down. Those are the kind of things we remember. And that's how, because it was such a vast issue and I don't want to downplay it, vast attack, everyone had like some little connective tissue. It wasn't just this thing that was happening out there. We're coming upon that time for September 11th, for 9/11, to where you have to start kind of figuring out how it gets contextualized within history.